welcome back to another vlog. I'm so tired right now because it's 5:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And this is because I'm running the half marathon today. And I have to stay quiet to not wake up my roommates. This week is easily one of the craziest weeks of my life. Not only am I running the half marathon, but I'm also releasing my startup internally. Then on top of all of that, I'm meeting with a bunch of fellow co-founders in a startup hosted by my university. And then the cherry on top is I'm meeting with someone from the Forbes 30 under 30 list who's a co-founder. And he is going to be giving me a bunch of specific feedback on Empor. And the best part is I get to bring every single one of you along with me on this journey. Anyways, it's so early right now. The sun literally hasn't even risen yet. And I'm kind of like, why in the world am I running a half marathon as a software engineer? We're not built for this, but I'll see you when I'm done. Anyone that says running is hard hasn't tried coding. I did my first ever half marathon today, and I could tell you it's not harder than leak code, and don't even get me started on debugging. Jokes aside, running has taught me a very important lesson. You always overestimate what you could do in one day, but underestimate what you could accomplish in 1 year, and this is true for all aspects of life. A year ago, I have never ran a 10K, and now I'm running this half marathon. Similarly, there was a time when I struggled to write even the simplest lines of code and couldn't do anything without watching YouTube videos. And now here I am building my own tech startup from scratch. It's about showing up every day, putting in the work, and trusting the process. So, yeah, that's been my biggest takeaway from running and building my startup. Consistency and small steps really do add up over time. Being only a 20-year-old software engineer building my first ever startup, there's so much that I have no idea about. To be honest, I'm kind of learning everything as I go, and because of that, there are a lot of things that I'm missing out on from the business side of things. I signed up for this Lean Startup Program at McGill. So it's founded by the Dobson Center for Entrepreneurship, and it basically helps you with building out your first ever startup. So I'll be working with experienced entrepreneurs who have been in the exact same position as me. Not only that, but I'll be put in a network with a bunch of other people who are just as interested in building out their own company as me. And that kind of networking opportunity is completely priceless. I just finished my first class actually today, and honestly, after paying attention to everything all of these entrepreneurs have said, I cannot be more excited for the future of Empor. So let's get into the coding. We're going to release the MVP internally in just a few days. I am so frustrated right now. I just spent the last 3 or 4 days building out the WebSockets backend in my Spring Boot application. I read through so many articles, so many other people's code, and I had to teach myself everything from scratch. And just when I was finally starting to get a little bit proud of myself for actually completing it, I found out that it will never work in production. And let me show you why. It's because the hosting platform I'm using, Vercel, for the front end does not allow for serverless functions to work. And they're literally talking about exactly what I struggle with, where it works locally, but not when deployed to production. That's easily the most frustrating thing I've experienced so far. That immediate crash after the high of building something from scratch that worked is unbelievable. So now I need to restart everything, scrap the last 4 days of work, and move on to some different approach. After doing some research, I think I'm going to go with Superbase's real-time database. It seems like it's the most straightforward fix, and I could do it all in 1 or 2 files in my Next.js frontend. So I'm just going to watch this video and then try to build it out. I just had a meeting with someone who's in the Forbes 30 under 30, and wow, did he put me on. His name is Michael Spellfogle, and he's the CEO of Cardless. It's this software that creates credit cards for mid-sized companies, and they're currently valued at around 350 million. And they've had some crazy partnerships, like building the official credit card for the Boston Celtics. So to say that I could learn a lot from this guy is an understatement. This is basically everything he told me about not just Empor, but building a startup and becoming an entrepreneur in itself. The first thing he pointed out was if we're looking for investment, we should seriously consider being full-time and not taking this as part-time roles. Right now, I'm a student in university, and so is everybody else on the team, so we have no choice but to only work on Empor part-time. And if we ever get to a position where we absolutely need investment to continue, Obviously, an investor is going to come in and see that we're only working part-time. So if we're not going to give all of our efforts, why would they give us any money? Now, the biggest piece of advice was to just go to market. Release your MVP on day -1. Sometimes it's better to start with something super small and niche and then grow as your audience scales. For example, for our marketplace, we could start with only selling textbooks or something and then get feedback, grow, and evolve from there. Even Amazon started as just an online bookstore run out of a garage. Anyways, after talking to him, I could not be more excited to get into my code. I just absolutely love working on things like this that I'm passionate about. I'm probably going to spend close to 100 hours this week on the code alone, and it doesn't even bother me at all. Let's get grinding. After so many days of coding, I finally got the chatting to work. That feeling of actually successfully building something from scratch on your own is insane. Every single coder loves it. Not only does the UI actually look pretty clean, when you go ahead and send a message, look how it automatically shows up. There is literally no delay at all, and that's what I was worried about. I can't explain how happy I am right now. All I had to do was create this Supabase instance by putting in my Supabase URL and Supabase key. And then it's as simple as writing this simple insert command. And this is basically just if a chat is sent, it's automatically inserted into my database. And then I'm just consistently refreshing that database. The only issue is I don't know how much this is going to cost me. So this is probably only a temporary fix. And while I was working on that, I actually got an email saying my startup got hacked. It's from this absolute legend who claims he's an ethical hacker and he actually discovered a security problem in my website apparently. And he was showing me this proof that he's able to break into my database. Basically, it's because in one of my older YouTube videos, I accidentally forgot to blur the last 6 characters of my environment variables. And it turns out that 3 of these characters are actually very commonly shared amongst databases. So he really only had to go through combinations for 3 different letters. Long story short, never ever ever put your environment variables or any API keys or anything like that online. There are so many people out there with malintentions. If you make this mistake, it could cost you thousands of dollars. So a massive shout out to this guy for pointing this out to me in an ethical manner. And what's so funny is the website isn't even live right now. It's literally filled with a bunch of garbage data. So I'm so thankful that I got this email right now because this could have been a serious problem. And because of everything, I'm going to let him interview for a spot to work on the cybersecurity of Empor. It pays to be a good person, and I want to reward that. Plus, this guy showed me he truly is a good candidate, so hopefully we could get him on the team. And before you guys think that this leak comes from malpractice, I took every single precaution from a coding perspective. My mind just blanked on the content creation side of things. But I'm never going to stop documenting my journey through coding because I want every single one of you guys to learn with me. So make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. I was supposed to release the MVP of Empor to every single employee inside our company so we could start populating the databases and getting some early signups and that kind of stuff. But the coding just got in the way. It's so frustrating, but it is what it is. This just means that I'm going to have to wait a few more days to release that MVP, so it'll probably be in the next video. Let's see if we could keep up to pace with that. Anyways, that's going to be all from me today. I'll see you guys in the next one.